I call the Rutherford County School Board September 30th, 2021 board meeting to order. First order of business is Pledge of Allegiance, led by Mr. Jim Estes. Thank you, Mr. Estes. Next item is moment of silence. I'd invite you, during our moment of silence tonight, we'd like to remember the Grant Kelly family. Grant served as a member of the Rutherford County Board of Education from September 9th, 2004 to August 30th, 2012. He also served as a Rutherford County Commissioner for 20 years. Please remember his wife, Diane, and his children, Jennifer, Lori, and Brian, during our moment of silence this evening. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is approval of the agenda. Can I get a motion, please?
Move to approve.
Thank you, Mr. Young. Thank you, Mr. Estes. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? All who wish to abstain from a vote? Thank you. Item number 5, approval of the consent agenda. There's an item, board members, that I'd like to address with you. Under request for purchase, Oakland High request to use Shaw Sports Turf Direct. We're going to move that item to the next agenda in October. So we'll move that. Does anybody have any questions on the consent agenda? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion. Thank you, Mr. Estes.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Young. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Anyone wishing to abstain from a vote? Thank you. Motion passes. Item number 6 is visitors. This evening we have 3. First visitor, please, you do not need to state your address. Please share your name only, not your address. And please remember the 3-minute rule. We'll start with Mr. Sam Buckaloo, please.
Hi. All right, good evening. I'm Sam Buckaloo. I'm a father of a district student and member of RCS, Safe RCS Leadership and a resident of Rutherford. We witnessed some pretty good results from the start of the mask requirement, and I'd like to share some positivity data. Thankfully, the positivity rates reflect a downward direction in Rutherford County's latest spike in COVID. Rutherford's highest peak for current COVID spike was September 13th with 21.6%, which also coincides with the start of our county mask requirement. 15 days later, and we were at 13.7%. That's just shy of an 8% drop in just over 2 weeks. Out of the 7 counties surrounding and including us, 8 in total, we are almost tied with Davidson, who was second best current positivity at 13%. Williamson recently took best at 11.3%. From the week before start of school up to the start of masking, 7 weeks in total, we consistently remained above average, 4.2% above Davidson's lower positivity. 15 days in masking, and we were less than 1% from that mark. This is remarkable. Davidson is also almost 8% higher in vaccination rate than Rutherford County. Of all 8 counties, 4 counties have no masks in schools and 4 require masks. The 4 counties that require masks have a current average of 13.5%. The 4 without masks have a current average of almost 19%. If we establish a baseline as the first week prior to students' first day, we can compare how well each county is managing COVID. We can do this by comparing the most recent positivity rate to their baseline. To be clear, above baseline is bad and below baseline is good. The counties lacking masks, Bedford is 9% above baseline, Cannon is 5.4% above baseline, Coffee is 7.6% above baseline, and Marshall is 6.1 above baseline. For counties that require masks, Davidson is below baseline of negative 0.3. Rutherford is negative 4.4. Williamson is baseline negative 6.1, and Wilson is less than 1% of baseline at 0.8. I'd like to point out that Marshall with no mask and Rutherford with masks are within 1% of each other, and the vaccination rate, yet Marshall is 5.2% higher than Rutherford. Looking at history, winter in the season with the larger increases in COVID due to more people being inside. Out of 8 counties, 2 achieved a higher peak this COVID spike compared to last winter. That was Coffee and Marshall County. Neither required masks in schools. Week to week, when we look at peaks and valleys, the counties with masks have a smaller deviation baseline compared to those counties without masks. Simply put, if all 8 counties are on a graph and we plot their positivity rates every 7 days, the counties with masks resemble a low hill we could easily walk over, while the counties with masks look like Mount Everest.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next guest is Lee Maitland.
My name is Leah Maitland. I'm a resident of Smyrna and the proud parent of 2 students at the Creek. I'm not going to take a lot of your time today. I just wanted to say on behalf of all the parents and community members in SAFE RCS, thank you. Thank you for helping protect our children. Thank you for making a difficult decision. We know it wasn't easy. We know not everyone is happy, but we can feel the difference in our children. We can feel that they're focused on learning. We can feel that quarantining is reducing, and we are grateful for it. We want a strong and vibrant public school system. We are here to be a part of that. And we don't stop with masks. We want to be a part of the ongoing conversation about what makes our school system great. And we want to see that continue. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next guest is Tim Highnote.
You guys, do you want to hand those out? Okay. Do you want me to wait until she hands those out, or?
I don't. You can hand them to us after.
Okay. So, thank you again for the opportunity to speak tonight. I'm coming here with a little bit of different perspective, more so on the policy and the positivity rate metric that you guys have proposed. Because honestly, if we look back at history, we see that this mandate is not a temporary mandate, as you guys are so calling it. There were only 59 days out of last year that our children would not have been masked according to your current policy. In those 59 days, or after those days, we'll also remember that last year, not only were your schools 100% mask requirement, but also the county as a whole was under a mask requirement. Unfortunately, this is not going to change. This is what we're going to see again, and you're going to continue to mask our children. I'm also up here tonight to just talk about your policy and how we're seeing it applied across the county already. Already you can see when that it is not being applied equally. The first Friday night after this policy was enacted, there's pictures all around of football games with students that don't have masks on, that are closer than our kids are in the classroom, yelling and screaming, as they should be at a football game. That's what we're supposed to do, cheer on our teams. But your policy says that they are supposed to be masked because they can't be distanced. Why is that? I'm hearing from parents in other sports that they may not be able to watch their children compete because there's attendance policies that are being applied on their sports. But football seems to be okay. Friday nights, COVID takes a break, as does your mask mandate. Why is that? Why is it that we don't know the written policy that we can speak to until after you've already adopted it? That's when we see it in writing. I'm also looking at your quarantine policy and contact tracing, that the only incentive is to those children that are masked. But when we were here debating masks several weeks ago, we were told that the mask is for the other person. It's not for me. Why then is the one that's punished the child that doesn't have the mask on? It seems to me that the only person it should matter if they have a mask is the positive case in the classroom. Why do we apply these policies? Why are we so hypocritical? Why can we not apply them evenly? If you as a board can't hold these policies equal across the board, then maybe we need to resign and look for other people to hold in the seats. Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 7, introduction.
Thank you, Chairwoman Johnson. Members of the board, it's my pleasure tonight to introduce you to Monica Ridley, who will be serving as General Counsel after I leave on October 8th. I did want to take a moment and thank you all so much for allowing me to serve you all for the last 2.5 years. It truly has been a pleasure, and I've learned so much and fallen in love with so many of you. But I can't tell you how much how excited I am for Monica. Monica was originally hired by me to work with me as the second attorney. So I think that speaks volumes, at least of my impressions of her, which is that I saw her as an asset that we would be able to collaborate together. And she has taken on the challenge of filling my seat unexpectedly. So already rising to, I think, as you all know, a challenge, and has done a beautiful job. Monica had a focus in family law before and has seen firsthand the struggles that our families in our school system deal with on a day-to-day basis, and is a Laverne High School alum, so a deep tie to the community. So I wanted to introduce her and let her get to say hello to you all, so please welcome her to the board.
Thank you. Good evening, board members. My name is Monica Ridley. Like Sarah said, I have been an attorney here in town, mainly focused on family law, some child welfare, things like that. So I care about kiddos. I have my own daughter who's in school here in Rutherford County. I'm also a proud graduate of Laverne High School, she mentioned. I won't tell you when, a long time ago. So go Wolverines. I'm very happy to be here. I know it's, a challenging time right now for all of us, but I am happy to be here and try to do the best job that I can. Thank you.
Welcome. Thank you. Item number 8.
All right, item number 8, we discussed tonight behavior specialists, MTSS, BCBA liaison for information only. What we're doing here is providing opportunity for them not only to work with special ed, but also general ed.
Any questions from the board? Seeing none, moving on to number 9.
All right, number 9, Title 1D, Virtual Driver Interactive, found on tab 3. Cedar Grove Residential Treatment Facility, a Title 1D state-identified delinquent facility located in Rutherford County, will be purchasing a full cab virtual trainer for Virtual Driver Interactive. Cedar Grove Residential Treatment Facility will use the virtual driving cab as a supplemental tool for high school age students who are taking driver's ed or have a desire to learn driving basics. Cedar Grove Residential Treatment Center has identified the need for this purchase in the TDOE required fiscal year 22 neglected and delinquent facility needs assessment as a priority to continue to enhance vocational needs in their facility. The details are as follows: a full cab virtual trainer equipped with virtual driving essentials, which was approximately $12,400 plus shipping handling costs of $680. Total cost for this item, $13,080. Recommend a motion to approve the Title 1D funds to pay for the full cab virtual trainer and virtual driving essentials. Cedar Grove Residential Treatment Facilities Title 1D will pay 100% of this cost as presented.
Thank you, Mr. Spurlock. Any questions from the board? Okay, seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Thank you, Ms. Bratton.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Young. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Does any member wish to abstain from a vote this evening? Motion passes. Number 10.
All right, number 10 is Title 1D Digital Libraries, found on tab 4, Cedar Grove Residential Treatment. The Title 1D Identified Delinquent Facility located in Rutherford County will be purchasing digital library 612 site license, enhanced CTE site license, and professional development from Edgenuity. Cedar Grove Residential will use Edgenuity to supplement middle and high school content for math, ELA, science, and social studies, world languages, and CTE pathways. Cedar Grove Residential has identified the need for the purchase in their TDOE required neglected and delinquent facility needs assessment as a priority to increase student achievement in core curriculum classes through professional development and student resources. The details of the cost are as follows. Digital Library 612 site license, $8,500. Digital Library CTE license and professional development, $6,970.47, a grand total of $15,470.47. Recommend approval motion for this Title 1D funds to pay for Edgenuity site license with professional development, and Cedar Grove Residential Treatment Center's Title 1D funds will pay for 100% of this cost as presented.
Thank you, Mr. Spurlock. Any questions from the board? Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion. Thank you, Mr. Young.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Bratton. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Does any member wish to abstain from a vote? Item passes. Number 11.
All right, number 11 is curriculum instruction. The curriculum instruction department would like to allocate $6,000 of general purpose funds to support 15 educator preparation providers, mentors at 8 of our high schools. The purpose of this mentorship is to provide building level support for the EPP participants enrolled in our career and technical education cohort number 3. These mentors are responsible for attending the EPP mentor and TDOE Vision of Excellence instruction training, conducting bi-weekly mentor-mentee meetings, and completing mentor reflection forms, engaging in all mentor dialogues, including the Southern Regional Board's Teaching to Lead curriculum, and completing yearly exit surveys of their mentees. The allocations are as follows. Each mentor receives $400 stipend for completing all the required tasks to provide an ongoing support of the EPP mentee. Funds will be dispersed in 2 distributions of $200 each at the end of each year of service. Recommend motion to approve allocating $6,000 of general purpose funds to these 15 EP mentors at our 8 high schools. Each mentor will receive $200 stipends for the completion of all required tasks. They provide ongoing support to their EPP mentee. It is requested that if the mentor were to resign prior to the end of the mentee's completion of the 2 years of the EPP coursework, the newly assigned mentor will be allowed to collect the proportional remainder of the stipend as presented.
Thank you. Any questions? Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved, Madam Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Estes.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Young. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Does any member wish to abstain from a vote this evening? Thank you. Motion passes.
All right, this next one is for the general purpose school funds for the EPP for mentors in both math and science cohort number 1, which was expanded this year. The curriculum and instruction department would like to allocate $7,200 of general purpose school funds to support 18 educator preparation provider mentors at 13 of our middle and high schools. The purpose of this mentorship is to provide level support for the EPP participant enrolled in math and science cohort number 1. These mentors are responsible for attending EPP mentor training, conducting bi-weekly mentor-mentee meetings, and completing a mentor reflection forms, also engaging all of the mentor dialogues included in the Southern Regional Educational Board's SMART curriculum, and completing a yearly exit survey assessments of the mentees. The allocations are as follows. Each mentor will receive $400 stipend for completing all required tasks to provide ongoing support of the EPP mentee. Funds will be dispersed in 2 distributions of $200 each at the end of each year of service. Recommend motion to approve allocating $7,200 in general purpose funds to support the 18 EPP mentors at 13 of our middle and high schools. Each mentor will receive $200 stipends for completion of all required tasks to provide ongoing support of their EPP mentee. It is requested that if the mentor were to resign prior to the end of the mentee's completion of the 2 years of the EPP coursework, the newly assigned mentor will be allowed to collect a proportional remainder of the stipend as presented.
Thank you. Any questions? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Thank you, Mr. Young. Second. Thank you, Ms. Maxwell. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Does any member wish to abstain from a vote this evening? Motion passes. Number 12.
All right, number 12, Financial Matters, Fund 141, General Purpose School Funds Amendment. This amendment budget for revenue expenditure fiscal year 2021-22 for Safe Schools Grant. This amendment increases the budgeted Fund 141 revenue and expenditures to recognize the awarded amount for fiscal year 2021-2022's Safe School Grant. This grant reflects award that was approved by the State Department of Education, and this year's award amount is in the amount of $909,209. Motion to amend the fiscal year 2021-22 general purpose school budget to reflect the annual Safe Schools Grant Award as presented.
Thank you. Any discussion or question on the board? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Thank you, Ms. Bratton.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Estes. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. Any member wish to abstain from a vote? Motion passes.
All right, number 2 is an amendment to budget for one additional full-time custodian for the new Laverne Middle Annex, one full-time teacher and an EA position for the new Plainview Elementary, additional classroom supplies that was provided for by donation from Nissan, as well as PRN nurse funding and contract LPN nurse funding. This amendment budgets for one additional full-time custodial position to clean the new Laverne Middle Annex that will open in October of 2021, as well as one teacher and EA position to staff the Plainview Pre-K program that was recently awarded grant funding by the state. Additionally, STEM instructional supplies at all 3 Rutherford County schools. Lastly, this amendment budgets for additional 2,000 hours of school registered nurse PRN pay, along with additional funding for contracted services for 3 contracted licensed practical nurse for a 3-month period to assist with the current increased workload of school nursing brought about by the Delta variant. It should be noted that of the requested total expenditure increase of $328,069 in this proposed budget amendment, the recurring payroll-related requests total $129,259, and this amount is further reduced by the recurring state pre-K grant that totals $88,705 this fiscal year. Funding for the part of this proposed amendment is not provided by the grant or donation funds will be derived from $214,364 of indirect costs from the ESSER II and ESSER III funds. Recommend a motion to approve the amend fiscal year 2021-2022 general purpose budget for the amount of $328,069 in increased revenue and expenditures as presented.
Thank you. Any questions or discussion with the board? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Estes.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Sharp. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. Any member wish to abstain? Motion passes. Thank you.
Our number 3 is an addendum to our substitute contract with Advantage XP. This proposed contract will increase the daily pay and bill rate for substitutes in our hard-to-fill schools by $10 per day and will begin with the passage of this addendum and stay in effect through fiscal year 2021-2022. The hard-fill schools for this daily increase are Laverne High, Laverne Middle, Roy Waldron, Smyrna Middle, Laverne Lake, and Cedar Grove. Recommend motion to approve the proposed addendum to the substitute teacher contract with Hiring Inc. Advantage XP with a goal to increase the current fill rate of the substitute teachers in the noted hard-to-fill individual schools as presented.
Thank you, Mr. Spurlock. Any questions from the board? I actually have a question for Mr. Reed. I'm not really sure how to disclose if there's a conflict of interest. I have 2 children that sometimes act as subs. They are not currently. Is that statement enough disclosure?
Well, just say if you have an indirect conflict of interest, the basis for your indirect conflict of interest, if you have one, and if you're going to go ahead and vote on a matter that in the best interest of the school system, you can go ahead and vote in that case.
Okay. I think I'll abstain from this vote this evening, though. Thank you. Seeing no further discussion, I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Thank you, Ms. Bratton.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Maxwell. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any member wish to vote nay? I abstain. Motion passes. Moving forward.
All right, number 13, facilities, found on tab 6. The first one is a request from Blackman Middle School to install irrigation system. Principal Amy Conifee Marlin has requested to allow the softball team to add irrigation system to the playing field. This request is at no cost to the board. Engineering and Construction has reviewed the request and recommends approval. I recommend a motion to approve the request to add irrigation to the Blackman Middle School girls softball and field as presented.
Thank you, Mr. Spurlock. Any discussion or questions from the board? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Thank you, Mr. Young.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Estes. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any member opposed say nay. Any member wish to abstain. Motion passes.
All right, next is another request from Blackman Middle School to install concrete for softball. Principal Amy Conifee Merlin has made a request to allow installation of a 76 by 16-foot concrete slab for batting cage. This request is at no cost to the board. Engineering and Construction has reviewed and this request and recommends for approval. Motion to approve the request to install the 76 by 16 concrete slab for the batting cage at Blackman Middle School girls softball team as presented.
Thank you. Any discussion or questions from the board? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Estes.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Bratton. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Any member wish to abstain? Motion passes. Next item.
All right, next is a request to allow Binkley Garcia to submit Plainview Elementary to the TSBA for design review. I think Mr. Lee has given us all the information there. Beautiful picture on the front, Mr. Lee.
It is beautiful.
Okay. TSBA recognizes architectural firms for the excellence in design. In accordance with TSBA's policy, any school building that was or will be occupied before November 1st of the current year or 3 years prior to November 1st of the current year is eligible for the award. School of the Year awards are granted in 4 categories, including new school construction of elementary, middle, and high schools, and also renovation. Engineering and Construction requests the approval for Binkley Garcia to submit Plainview Elementary to the TSBA's for this year's review. Recommend motion to approve submission of the Plainview Elementary design to TSBA as presented.
Thank you. Any discussion or comments from the board? It's a beautiful school. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oh, excuse me. I need a motion.
I move.
Thank you. Got ahead of myself there.
second.
Thank you, Ms. Bratton. Thank you, Ms. Maxwell. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Any member wish to abstain? Thank you. Motion passes.
All right, next is a request for Jerry Butler Builders in Sundale subdivision. During the design review by the town of Smyrna for plans of approval, the Sundale subdivision, a sidewalk to the crosswalk at Rocky Fork Middle and Elementary campus was requested. Engineering and Construction has worked with Mr. Butler's representatives and the town of Smyrna on this request. Based on the drawing that's submitted, we request approval for this sidewalk installation. I recommend motion to approve the sidewalk from Sundale subdivision to the crosswalk at Rocky Fork Middle and Rocky Fork Elementary as shown, as presented.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from the board? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Thank you, Mr. Young. Thank you, Ms. Maxwell. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Any member wish to abstain? Motion passes. Thank you. Item number 15, insurance update.
I'll email all the monthly insurance reports to you, so that way instead of printing out a whole log of it tonight, I was just going to send it to you for your review. It'd be easier with the larger printouts, if that's agreeable. If that's agreeable with you folks, I could do that going forward instead of having to print out everything. It'd make it easier for you to review. If that's the will of the board to have that in electronic format instead of printouts.
Electronic format would be nice.
Okay.
Thank you. Anything further for insurance? No? Number 16, director's update.
All right, I'm going to take this opportunity to recognize Ms. Page for her service here. It seems like it's been longer than that. I will say that I've probably not worked, I know I haven't worked with anyone in that capacity as efficient, as bright, and quite frankly, able to diffuse things. So we will miss you, Ms. Page. I want to thank Ms. Ridley for coming on board. I think a Laverne High School graduate. We were very proud of Laverne High School, and we look forward to working with you. And Ms. Page, we want you to come back and visit us from time to time. Like I said, I've been in this system for over 30 years, and I remember when we first got our first staff attorney. And I can tell you that I've never worked with anyone that was competent in the way you are, and we do appreciate it. I think I'm echoing the same sentiments of everyone in this central office and everyone throughout our district. So thank you once again.
Thank you. Number 17, Tennessee Legislative Network. Ms. Maxwell?
Well, I don't know if everybody's been paying attention, but there have been 3 lawsuits filed under violations of civil rights in 3 different counties, Knox, Williamson, and Shelby, and all of those, the judges ruled in favor of the mask mandate with no opt-out. I've been paying attention to the Governor Lee and whether he would anticipate renewing. It looks like he is going to renew that. He made some news when he called a special session regarding the new Ford car deal, but he already said that he will extend the mask-out order, and he will continue to challenge with the Tennessee Attorney General the rulings that have come down from the bench, and says he will stand up for parents in court. And the only other news that I have is that there is going to be a hearing, and finally it's coming to court, the fairness of the BEP formula, and so it's finally coming to pass. It was supposed to start in November here in Rutherford County with our own local judge, Don Ash, but they've extended it to the 1st of next year. I think it'll be January, February when that comes to pass. But that's all the news right now on that.
Thank you. And number 18, Federal Relations Network. We do not have somebody on the board currently who does that. I've been working on that, so we won't have an update this evening. Number 19 is general discussion. Is this? Oh, yes, I'm sorry. During general discussion this evening, I'd like to ask Ms. Page if you would. I know Mr. Spurlock probably.
Sorry.
Oh, that's fine. I know that there was questions about the policy committee meeting, so I did
Yes.
want to take a few minutes and give the history of that. Our policy committee has been going on before I got in the role. Actually, being totally transparent, the way I found out that the attorney helps organize this was being asked why we haven't had one in a while, which then made me realize perhaps that was my job to do. So we took that on. From the very beginning, I have never requested that RCTV be there because I never knew that they should or shouldn't be there. In all the history of the 2.5 years of meetings I've done, we usually do about 3 to 4 a year. Only one has ever been broadcast on television, and it was the one that had our mask policy on it. And I was actually confused when they showed up and talked to them, and they said that they thought that they were supposed to be coming, but I had never heard that before. I do want to make it clear, since there was confusion from the meeting and concerns from the public, this board can absolutely broadcast those meetings if they choose to. I don't think that there's necessarily a strong opinion one way or the other, as from my perspective or from the legal perspective. They are open to the public. People do come. We don't entertain visitors, but they are welcome to come. We had 2 last night. So the policy committee, what is it? The policy committee is a group of, we have teachers, we have former teachers, parents, all the board, obviously you all know that you're on it, the director, Jeff Reed, myself, and Kay Martin from our curriculum instruction department. And the purpose of the committee is to consider draft versions of policies, proposals, anything like that. The committee really is supposed to be a workshop. It's supposed to have feedback. The policies as presented, we mark what's been changed, the reason it's been brought, and we bring policies from numbers of sources. Often they're TSBA model policies based on law changes, but we also have ongoing current issues, recommendations from board members, recommendations from principals, from family members, from members of the public, rather, family members of our students. And we bring those to the committee for consideration. So the whole purpose is hopefully to be collaborative. Last night we made some edits based on the committee's feedback, and that's always what I like to see if possible. It is supposed to be the opportunity for representatives from different interests to really get to speak directly to a proposed draft. After those policies are considered at the committee, they are not adopted by any stretch of the imagination. In fact, it has to go through 2 additional readings of this board. Due to scheduling, like for example, this is the second time this has happened. We've had 2 times that the committee meeting has split a work session and a board meeting. The first time this happened, almost every policy on the agenda was COVID related, and it was right before the opening of school. In addition to that, if you recall, we had many of them flagged because they were new state laws that had gone into effect July 1st, with the final version of the law not coming out from the Codes Commission until late in July. Those laws all had to be put into policy by statute before before the school doors opened. So in that rare circumstance of having a combination of safety procedures for how school is going to open and quite a slate of required policies by law, we did preemptively put the policy agenda onto the board's agenda with a note indicated on there that these still needed to be considered by the committee, and there may be changes proposed by that committee to the board before final vote. We ultimately didn't have any. All of the ones that needed to be passed, this board passed on first reading, and we went from there. With this recent one, we did, again, because of scheduling, split the board meeting and the work session with our committee meeting. Thank you for accommodating a 3-meeting week, everybody. But in this case, we don't have any emergency policies. There are a few required by law, but the things that are coming up don't have a timeline on them that are anytime soon. So there wasn't a reason to try to have something on the agenda and this board not know what it was going to be looking at on the day it voted. So for that reason, Ms. Monica has already the agenda with some of the policy edits that we'll be making with feedback from this committee. And those policies will go on for first reading for the October 14th meeting, and then they'll go, if approved by the board on those first readings, will go to the second meeting in November for final approval, and they will go into effect that day. And we send them to the TSBA to be posted online, which usually takes a week or 2 for them to get finalized. So that's the process. That has been the process. And that allows for a lot of public feedback at those 2 different meetings, as well as 2 months for anyone in the public to express concerns to you all, to talk to central office about how that might be implemented, and for us to be considering what we might do for procedures if they are to be adopted by this board. So I hope it gives that some clarity. You all are welcome to, if you'd like to start broadcasting those, just let us know, and I will teach Monica how to get with James to get with RCTV, and we can do that. So that's the policy committee.
Thank you, I appreciate that. Does any member have questions or concerns or comments? Ms. Moore? Sure.
Board, address the board and the community this evening. So, Madam Chairman and my fellow members of the board and all the community members, announcing this evening that effective 30 days from now, in accordance with policy 1.104, that I'm going to be resigning my position from the Rutherford County School Board. So I'd like to say to all my constituents, fellow community members, everybody that supported me over these past 7 years on board, that it's been an honor and a privilege to serve this community, and I thank you for your support. Ms. Johnson had a letter in writing that's also requested by the policy.
Thank you, Ms. Moore. Thank you. One thing I'd like to discuss during general discussion this evening, in full transparency, one of the things that I think we can do a better job at as a board, not as a system, I think the system does a really great job, but speaking on a board level, is transparency with our parents and our community. And in that, we serve on committees, which the policy committee was sort of confusing. I appreciate Ms. Page clarifying that for us. But in that, there are other committees that we ask our board members to serve on. And so I want to draw that to your attention, and moving forward, I will ask board members who serve on these committees to give us a report after the committee has met. To be clear, there is only one board member who meets with these committees, so there's no conflict here. I've asked Ms. Maxwell to serve as our TLN. She reported this evening. Mr. Estes has agreed to serve on our safety committee. Ms. Breton has agreed to continue to serve on our insurance committee. Mr. Young has agreed to serve with our Health and Safety Committee, and I had asked Ms. Moore to serve as our FRN. Unfortunately, she's leaving us, so we'll find someone else for that. And I've also asked Ms. Sharp to serve on our Bus Committee. So those will be our committees. I'll be asking our board members to give us information that would be valuable to our families, so that our families can understand more what we're doing, and we can have more transparency. So I appreciate your time this evening. Any further business? Seeing none, we are adjourned.